Hello and welcome, and this is The Leg Up, but not as you know it, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast. And unfortunately, it's not the way we wanted it. It's probably not the way you wanted it, but we're back in some shape, way, or form. The good news is I do have my offsiders here to help me out, but under COVID restrictions they are. And the other good piece of news is we have a cracking weekend of racing ahead of us, highlighted by the Windsor Park Plate at Hawke's Bay, that second leg of that Group 1 Triple Crown. So plenty to look forward to in the weekend ahead. We had to get back on screen. There was just too much good racing, and the noise from listeners and viewers wanting to see the leg up back becoming deafening. So here we are in some shape, way, or form on the leg up. Thank you for joining us. I have got my usual team of cohorts, and we'll go around the grounds and start and say hello to Stephen Hunt, odds aficionado and the expert around the prices. G'day, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, Thaddeus. Fantastic joining you. And as you can see, I'm in one of the many meeting rooms here at HQ in Petone, and happens to be the basketball room. No surprise with the picture shot behind me of two of the greats in the 80s and the early 90s. But look, it's good to get it back up and running at some capacity, the podcast, Thaddeus. And I think there's a sense of timing too, being the second leg of the Group 1 at Hastings. And also just the next 72 hours that we have in front of us with Te Rapa next, or tomorrow, should I say, with this being recorded on a Thursday afternoon. You got Riccarton playing the undercard to Hastings, but some really strong races down there with Tony Pike and Tiakau taking many horses down to the south. And also Great Northern Day, which we know through the lockdowns, etc., has been transferred from HQ to Te Araha. So there's 72 hours of really strong racing. The quality and quantity is there. And I think for the very first time this season, we're going to be playing on dead/good decks up and down the country, which gives punters great confidence.
Yeah, 100%. That is fantastic news. The bay's looking like it's going to be somewhere around a dead 4, I would have thought. So we're in for a fantastic day's racing. Let's say hello to Mr. TAB podcast. That's Paul Mawadi. G'day to you, Paul. Thanks for joining us, man. Barely standing. How are you?
Here, look okay. Like most of your monologues, there was a little bit of truth in there, and there was a little bit of not truths in there. Where you were playing right down the middle was when you mentioned we've got a great weekend of racing, and it starts tomorrow at Te Rapa, and then Saturday, both sides of the Tasman. 100% pumped up for that. There was no noise. No one was asking for us to come back. There was no noise, big guy. I'm telling you now. I don't know why we're here. I'm talking to you from my home, and I just feel a wee bit uncomfortable. It's like you boys are here in my house, and I don't like the feeling. But I'll get over that, and I'll look forward to the bumper weekend of racing that we've got coming up. And well, the bumper next 4-6 weeks worth of racing that we've got coming up. It's going to be big.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, you did right. Well, yeah, we haven't been to your house there, Paul. So, this is the first time. You might be able to give us a little look round later on in the leg up.
Not happening.
It's time to bring our third guest in, and we need him. He's a bit of an anchor man for us. TAB presenter Brendan Popplewell joins us for all his expert selections. G'day, BP.
Hey, Thaddeus and team. Yeah, nice to be joining you. And yes, great to be back. The leg up. We did wonder where it was, and it was somewhere in the ether, and it is now returned to its righteous place. So can't wait to talk about what's going to be a very good race meeting.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely, BP. And we may as well get. Oh no, before we do, we got to get straight back into this, Pops. We need a maidener of the week. What have you spied for us?
There was a few options. There was definitely a few options going off the last 7 days, but I will go to a race meeting out of Tauranga on Sunday in Summer Canned. This was a very good winner from the Baker Forsman team, and potentially could be a horse that we'll see a little bit more of when maybe getting over more distance also. So this is a Mongolian Khan horse that was able to just trounce his rivals on this occasion out of Tauranga, jumped to the front. Was under a very cushy ride by Kozi Asano, and then just slowly released the brakes and just inflicted a lot of pain on his rival. So yeah, nice win, and he was a runner that was only just beaten last time out to the races out of Taupo, and prior to that, through his 2-year-old preparation, he ran in 2 stakes races. So he looks like a horse to look out for over the next few weeks.
It was a big one. I know this is Thursday afternoon. We're taping this, BP, and hopefully our viewers will be able to see it. But is Samarkand, is that going around tomorrow at Te Rapa?
It's in the last race. Yeah. So it's in race 9 over the 1,600 metres.
Okay. What price, Steve? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think from memory, 3.5, Thaddeus, and notably the Baker Forsman team don't often back up horses within that 7-day bracket, obviously backing up from Sunday to a Friday meeting. But as you mentioned, Mongolian Khan out of Isabel, it's a horse to follow once you get over 1.25 miles and plus. So I think they're probably working back from a Derby. I know it's a long way away, but yeah, look, just take note of the stable backing up. They don't do it often. Saying that, I think it was from memory, Powerful Moss that backed up from Sunday to Wednesday to win at Ottawa Park. So, yeah, the stable do it for a reason.
Yeah, okay. 3.5 currently available in the last there at Te Rapa. Right. Well, without further ado, let's get stuck in here, Hastings, and we'll go to the Group 1, the Windsor Park Plate, 1,600 metres, second leg. Stephen, run us through how this market looks. No surprise who our favourite is here.
Yeah, course on Mav looking to go back to back from the first leg to the second leg. Open 1.9 when betting commenced on Wednesday, Thaddeus. It was backed into 1.8 around about 5-10 minutes into trading with a little bit of smart money around the favourite and course on Mav. Spring Tide, $4.20 holds the call there in that second line. Gino Sivarini, $5.50 out to 7. Prix de Feu, here's a shift. Open double figures 10, trading 9. Then there's a little bit of a gap. Harleq 15 out to 21 early doors. Siracusa 18, sharing that same quote as Harleq, now trading at 21. P Arena 26 out to 31. Lanacord 31 out to 41. Tappies 1, Manoa Kia, and Ratani and Katy Perry 51 each of 4, the rankies. So but there's a couple of talking points. Call sign Mav, 190 into 180. Holds around about 30% of the hole currently, and Prix de Feu being a bit of a firmer in the first, 24, 36 hours, 10 into 9.
Yeah, okay, BP. He just looks a bulletproof sort of bet. Call sign Mav. He hasn't got too many question marks, but you might suggest there are just a couple lingering around his rivals in this race. He looks a shot's eye here. Call sign Mav, you'd have to suggest.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Thad. There is more question marks around his opposition as opposed to call sign Mav. He has got that tactical speed where he can put himself in the right place in the run. Middle barrier draw of 7 is niggly over the 1,600 metres, but if he is a horse who jumps and puts himself there, he can overcome that very quickly. He's been able to operate at the distance at this venue, of course, with a very good third in this race last year behind Melody Bell and Avantage. He's a bona fide Group 1 horse. It looked like he was going to lose that Group 1 in the Tarzino, but he found a way to win it. Of course, that horse that was diving at him was Spring Tide, but this is a different race again, isn't it? More distance, won't be as wet, the track condition. $1.90, $1.80. It just seems to be a horse that you can run through multis, and he's hard to tip against. He really is hard to tip against in this race. I think runners like Prix de Feu, Springtide, Gino Sivarini, of course they do. They have their chances. They do have their chances in this race on the weekend. But Prix de Feu is a hard horse to follow, but he does get to a distance that will be suitable for him. He was backed strongly in that race 2 weeks ago in Tarzino, and he finished into 7th position. He was very good in the Foxbridge. Springtide, with everything we've seen with Springtide, of course, he has to be in calculation somewhere with how he ran in that race. So I just keep coming back to call sign Mav and trying to work out how to get the first 4.
Exactly. Not a bad call. Steve, what about the speed in the race? Pop's touched on the barrier 7 from that tricky-ish start there at the mile at Hawke's Bay. Has he got anything that's going to challenge him in the lead, or how's this map play out?
It looks fairly straightforward. I thought that was fairly straightforward in terms of map when it came to Tarzino, but there was a little bit of speed underneath him around the frontman and Supreme Heights, both those runners not in the second leg. So, look, I think he gets to the lead easy enough from barrier 7. It can be, as BP alluded, a tricky start at the mile at Hastings, but it's a tricky one. I don't see too much in terms of an obvious candidate which might take on call sign Mav in the first furlong or two over the 1,600. But look, I think if he gets to the lead by default, look, I don't think Jonathan will want to make it a sit and sprint affair, because that just takes his biggest asset away in call sign Mav's high cruising speed. And we've seen that from almost day dot around this horse. Even when he was a progressive 3-year-old, he had that high cruising speed. So he'll look to go even tempo for the first maybe 600 metres. And then from the 1,000 metre mark, I think Jonathan will just want to increase the splits and make it a truly run event in terms of the last 8-6-4-2 closing splits. So, but overall, I think the first furlong or two, I just can't see too much pressure underneath Call Sign Mav to really challenge that number one in terms of the map.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Paul, are you brave enough or stupid enough to take on John Barry here with Call Sign Mav at the Bay? I mean, it seems like a death wish if you were going to.
It sounds like the way the boys are talking that we haven't found the bottom of the market either when it comes to Call Sign Mav and his price, which is around $1.80 right now. BP did mention he was third behind the two queens of Tiaco last year in Melody Bell and Avantage. He was a long neck nose third behind those two. So he doesn't have that sort of competition against him this time round. The one I did like outside of Call Sign Mav was Prix de Fur. He just looks ready to pounce. I thought they were encouraging runs in the Foxbridge and the Tarzino. He just can't get a draw. He was, I think he was drawn 13th in this race last year. He's out at the 10 barrier this time as well. But I think if Troy can get him around across, fairly enough without having to spend too much, I think he's got enough speed in him to give Call Sign Mav a wee bit of a go. He had the fastest last 800 and 600 sectionals in this race last year. And I think if he can just get across without having to spend too much gas early on, I think he's the main danger to Call Sign Mav. Spring Tide, of course, the track just seems to be getting a wee bit too firm for Spring Tide. So, and I think we were getting around $20 for Spring Tide 2 weeks ago in the Tarzino. Of course, that was with Avantage in the market, but we're only getting around the $4.50 mark this time. So I can't have Spring Tide. So yeah, Call Sign Mav on top. But if there is a danger, I'd say Prix de Fur.
What do you make of Prix de Fur, BP? Look, the resuming run was encouraging, got people fired up that he could run a race in that first leg. And what do you make of that run? I guess is my question.
He just got in a sticky spot, didn't he? He just got, I'm sure, a lot further back than maybe it was anticipated, especially with the amount of money that came for him. So he just found himself in a position that was, I'm sure, a pair or three further back than where they were looking for, and that just made it difficult for him to be winning the race with how things panned out with where the winner was, of course, and that being Call Sign Mav. So I believe he has a chance in the race, most certainly, because of his Group 1 1600 meter form. He has to say that he can be a player on that and a big improver. I sort of look at Gino Sivarini, where he's run two big races this season so far also, and they've both been, or the first run especially, the Foxbridge run where he ran second. It was almost a huge surprise with how he ran, but he trialled well enough leading up to that. He can run over so many different distances, Gino Sivarini. He's also been getting back in his races from barriers 12 and 13. He can take a position. We've spoken about Gino a lot on this podcast with how he has enough technical speed where he can position up. He was drawn in barrier number 5. He could be in the front half of the field as opposed to the back half of the field that he's been in the last two starts. For mine, that makes him a really big top 3, top 4 player. And the other horse I don't want to leave out is Harleq. Harleq's got Group 1 form over 1,600 metres, has run second in the 2,000 Guineas, has run second in the Levin Classic as a 3-year-old over 1,600 metres. He'll get a firm deck to bounce off. That is his go in life, not the surface that we saw on a slow 8 at Hawke's Bay. If he gets better footing and can be a little bit closer to them, he is a danger.
We're not seeing anything down the page here, Pops. I mean, it's got a bit of a tail, dare I say it. Hard to sort of sip anything at plus $20 plus in this one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is unfortunate how the race has fallen away, and it's fallen away with no Dragon Leap, no Catalyst, and obviously no Avantage. When you start losing those sort of horses, you're losing genuine Group 1 horses, aren't you? And unfortunately, that's what has happened to the field. And look, we see some horses that they get an opportunity in a Group 1 that maybe they wouldn't normally. Good on the connections of having a shot. I mean, the race is there to have a go at, and they're having a throw at the stumps. But that could be the case in 2 weeks' time, too, for the Livermore Classic. That will be a different race again when we see Sauvignon Blanc and those sort of horses take their place in the Livermore Classic in a couple of weeks with more distance. I mean, there's a 1600-metre open race at Te Rapa, for instance, where about 4 or 5 of those horses would be not out of place in this race. You know, for whatever reason, they've decided to stay closer to home and work their way towards Hawke's Bay for the Livermore Classic. But we've heard a lot of trainers talk about it is difficult to be able to go to Hawke's Bay 3 times backwards and forwards with only just that 2-week gap, which can take a lot more out of horses than what you'd really understand. So I think you've got to take that point on board as well.
Yeah, okay, we'll stay with you, BP. Give us a top 4 in this year's Windsor Park.
I'll go with Call Sign Mav, quite clearly on top. In front of Gino Sivarini, I just thought he might be a good sneaky hope of running into the money. Pre-defer, Springtide and Harleq is where I'm sort of bouncing. Springtide, no 1600-metre form, and obviously on the better track, but he just ran so well last time out, so just maybe he's in the right space to run a race. So I'll go 1, 3, 2, 4 as my numbers, but yeah, Harleq's definite in my first 4 anyway.
Yeah, okay, 4/5. We're going with BP. Paul, what are you thinking here in this year's Windsor Park, mate? Have you got 4 selections for us?
Not too different from BP. Call Sign Mav on top. I like Pre-Defer in behind, and then Harleq and Syracusa.
Syracusa. Okay, nice. Be an improver. Steve, anything you want to add before we move on to the Guineas around this year's Group 1 over the mile?
Well, interesting, BP brought up around the 1600 metres for Springtide. He's yet to be tried at the mile. He did run home as fast as last 8:6.42 in the Group 1 on the first day. So, but that doesn't always transition into getting over more ground when you're closing the best sectionals in a certain race. But I went back into the category, the Dam Spring Fever. She went up to 1200 metres, full sister to Springtide, and Spring Bouquet went up to 1400 twice. But you have to go back to the second dam to find a horse that's performed or winning form over 1600 metres. But look, the stable pretty keen that the horse can get to 1600 and operate on a better track. So I don't want to knock it totally around Springtide. And yeah, just going back to the Tarzino and how the race rated in terms of a winning performance and Call Sign Mav, it was right on the mark to Group 1 standard. So I don't think 90% of these horses can run up to a Group 1 standard. So all the fave needs to do is just replicate what he did on the first day, and he'll be winning again in my eye. But and also Syracusa. I mean, you could go back to Syracusa last preparation, and I see Paul Mawadi's got it in his top 3 or 4. Its PPs have been at 1600. One of them was winning the Karaka Classic, being a sub-winner in the Easter Handicap and demonetisation, and then also ran second the Japan Trophy, and third happened to be Gino Sivarini. So you can work a little bit of form reference around Gino Sivarini and Syracusa. But pretty keen on the fave to go back to back at Hastings.
Do we have a Triple Crown winner book? Did we?
No, we don't, and we probably will have unlikely to open one. I think all going well, Call Sign Mav, who heads to the Cox Plate. This will be his last run at Hastings, unless he probably underperformed and wanted to stay here in NZ. But from all accounts, John Barry's pretty keen to take him to the Valley.
Jeez,
I think that just emphasises the fact that we should really be getting on Call Sign Mav this Saturday.
Yeah, well, good point. I mean, yeah, if he's going to take on, we've got some unfinished business there, John Barry at Moonee Valley too, and a Cox Plate. So wouldn't that be something? Okay, guys, I want to take us back to race number 6, and that is the done deal at Arrowfield, Hawke's Bay Guineas Group 2 over the 1400. Steve, what can you tell us about this market?
There's a decent lead around the favourite here, early doors, Thaddeus. Number 1, Wakari, who was very impressive on the first day in the old rocker. Opened 2.9 on Wednesday, now trading at $2.50. A lot of that move has happened on Thursday day. In front of Kufu, 480 out of turn to 5. Mana Nui, also an impressive maiden winner last start when resuming as a 3-year-old, 650 out of turn to 7. Double figures around Meritable, 9 out to 10. Hoodlum, 10 out a couple of turns to 12. She is the same price as our Vencedor. A Soldier Boy, the Whanganui Guineas winner, at $13. Whiskey, a bit of a move here in the middle market. I know there's a big syndicate involved, 18 to 14. Yearboy, 15. Western Springs resumes to the James Wellwood team at 26. Nest Egg, 31. Best of the rest is Drum Major, 31 out to $41. But nice little lead around the favourite for Sam Collar and Royden Burgesson, 290 to 250. Wakari.
Gee, they always make for intriguing betting races, BP, don't they? Races like this, the Hawke's Bay Guineas, because we've got those listed performers. The Sir Colin Meads El Rocker Trophy, the Wanganui Guineas against Last Start Maiden winners, and that just makes for an intriguing betting battle, doesn't it?
It does that when you've got horses that have either won stakes races at the early part of the season on off tracks, and then we get to this better surface at Hawke's Bay, maiden winners. It's everything that you want in the early part of a 3-year-old season, and we get that, don't we? The El Rocker winner, of course, was Waikari, who was seriously looked at by I Wish I Win, and withstood that challenge from that horse. Now, you know how potentially that good that horse could be, and I Wish I Win, and he fought that runner off. I can understand the move for this runner, $2.90 to $2.50. He was very good a couple of weeks ago. Kufu. What do we do with Kufu? Well, the first thing we can do is look at his maiden victory and actually go, well, that's holding up, because we've seen today out of Waverley, the horses that have run second and third behind him have done a very good job and have looked nice and winning. My Carroll and also Rue Clear. So that's the first thing you wanted to be able to see. I like how he's attacked the line in that race, and he'll get a better surface. I think that's a key factor for him coming into this race, and the reports are that he's moving in the right direction to be a chance in this race on the weekend. But, you know, Whanganui Guineas winner, Hoodlum, Yeah Boy, Whiskey, El Vencedor, Mananui was good, Meritable. It's what you want from a Hawke's Bay Guineas, and I think we'll see another special race.
Yeah, don't disagree. There's a bit of a chance to back a few at odds here, as they say, man barely standing.
I think I might have found one too. Well, I'm going to be playing it anyway. And you mentioned them bringing form from all over the place. And you can throw in the fact there's a wee bit of synthetic track form these days as well. And how do you weigh that up when they hit the turf again? I'll wait for much smarter people than myself, like BP and Steve and our good friend Chippy Harrop, to let me know exactly how that synthetic form lines up. But having said that, I do like the look of that El Vencedor. I did like the win at Taupo. The extra 200 meters will definitely suit. A better track will definitely suit. It gets the one draw. I think Daniel will have an up there, if not in the lead, right up there with the leaders. And I expect him to have a wee bit of a burst down the straight. So I do like El Vencedor in the Guineas. Taking nothing away from Kufu, because I was at work today and I just heard Tony Lee's voice on the tally behind me. I had a look around and I saw My Carroll rushing down the straight, and I thought, well, yeah, that franks the form for Kufu, definitely. So yeah, but I do like El Vencedor.
Yeah, okay, $12 El Vencedor. How does this map? How does this speed map shape up here, Steve? Tricky race to potentially speed map. Is there anything we need to know in that regard?
I think if you go back to the El Rocker and you look at Wakari's performance, just the race shape, the tempo of that particular race really did suit Wakari. He managed to sit outside the leader. The first 600, they ran 38.17, which works out to be roughly 6 lengths below par. So they didn't go hard in the first 600 meters. And the last 600 was only fair as well. So overall, the race rated fair on the clock. Overall, these 3-year-olds, you're looking at the 2 features on the first day of the carnival at Hastings for the 3-year-old races. Even Imperatrice when it won at Te Rapa, and Art de Triomphe, which won, I think it was the Canterbury Bell down at Christchurch a couple of weeks back. No 3-year-old yet has smashed a clock. So when it comes to the 1,000, 2,000 Guineas, lads, I think it's wide open. And we're just waiting for that 3-year-old to really smash the clock and say, hey, I'm here to be beaten, or I'm the one to beat when it comes to the Group 1 feature in early part of November over 1,600 metres. It's around about this time of the year when we see the Hawke's Bay Guineas, also the Sarton, need I say more, really stood up when it came to the Sarton last year. Go back a couple years back, and you had Catalyst winning the Hawke's Bay Guineas and saying, hey, look, I'm the horse to beat when it comes to the Group 1 down in Christchurch. So it's around about this time that we do see these 3-year-olds jump out of the ground in terms of ratings and performance on the eye. But I just see there's a little bit more pressure in this race to take on Wakari. He's not going to get an easy way up front in terms of where he'll be sitting outside the leader like he did 2 weeks back. You've got El Vencedor, as Paul mentioned, with the blinkers on, drawn the ace. I'm sure Danielle want to hold a position there along the rail. Mana Nui, Meritable, both went forward, and they've got around about mid to neutral gates here. They'll look to go forward, try and put themselves in the first 2 or 3. So I feel there's enough pressure where it could be truly run compared to what we found in the El Roca, which will really test Wakari because he's stepping up to the 1400 meters, which is always a little bit of a telling point from 12 to 14. And but I got this market totally wrong. There was a bit of discrepancy between the 3 prices, including myself, when it came to pricing the guineas, and I had Wakari clearly over $3.50, and he's been backed in from $2.90 to $2.50. So, look, I've just got to take a set against him now. I'm pretty keen on a few of the last start maiden winners, but in terms of the lead, they're definitely against me customers with Wakari, the best back runner.
Yeah, I seem to echo Steve's thoughts, BP. I feel like we've had sort of some standout 3-year-olds, and this bit more of a blanket over them probably provides a bit of an opportunity. Thinking about 1,000 or 2,000 guineas, and maybe something can jump out of the ground.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're going to see that over the next few weeks, actually, where, I mean, the Te Rapa race meeting on Friday, there's enough there in terms of either maiden 3-year-olds or 3-year-olds themselves running at that meeting. I just think there's going to be a lot more to be seen, and the Hawke's Bay Guineas will not give you that definitive answer that you want for the 2,000 guineas at least. There is a lot more water to go under those bridges at this stage. So, yeah, I totally agree with how this race is shaping up. It's an intriguing race, and it's going to be a good race. And yeah, like I said, I wish I'd win was a horse who was beaten last time to the races. Yet is he still the favourite, Stephen, for the 2,000 guineas?
Yeah, he is, BP. I think he went out of turn on the back of that performance 2 weeks ago at the Bay when he was a very short price favourite. I think he got backed into around about $1.35, $1.40 from memory. So, look, he was $5 leading into that race. He's gone out of turn to $6. He's been fairly soft in the last, 14 odd days. He'll have to prove himself on the track once again for money to come his way. But as I said, a $6 fade this far out, it's wide open.
Yeah, and the reason why I mention that is I like the horse, but I'm not going to go rushing. I'm not going to go rushing down to the bank manager to ask for a loan to have a big bet on. I wish I win at $5 in the 2,000 guineas market. I'd rather go and search for something else, and there is a lot to go searching for. There is enough in that 26, the sort of 61 zone. If you start looking around, that you can find something potentially as opposed to trying to look for the favourites. And to be honest with you, that's how I always look at these earlier markets. I think that's how you've got to play them sometimes instead of trying to jump into the favourites at the top end of the market. Look, in the end, I'm Kufu just in front of Waikari. I don't have too much between these horses, to be honest with you. And I think there's a very even spread over the whole field, to be honest with you. Meritable's a very hard run to line up. Was very good on the synthetic last time to the races. I thought there was enough in that particular victory. It's a Baker Forsman trained runner with the out of the right stable, Matt Cameron, right colours, right owners. There's all those factors come into it around if you're winning Meritable in your combinations. And then I looked at a horse like even Whiskey. I thought Whiskey was a horse that you could entertain. It's got an awkward barrier draw. I just feel as though for trifectas and first fours, you're going to be including a number of horses here, but Kufu and Waikari are my top 2.
BP, just back to Whiskey, how do you rate that Whanganui Guineas? Because it ran poorly on the clock. I think it was 7 lengths below standard for a 3-year-old stakes race. I know contrasting track conditions, it was on a heavy deck that occasion, so you can't totally knock the form because they're going to be presented on a better track and some of them might bounce out of it nicely. But overall, in terms of a form race, I just don't want to be near it.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? And yeah, and it's obviously mentioning Soldier Boy who won that race, and Yeah Boy who was finishing on into second position. Whiskey led and finished into 4th position. Yeah, I think you've just got to be wary, Stephen. Especially with track conditions, just be taking that into mind. I would like to see some of these horses on the better track, which we're going to see. And Whiskey just might be a horse that'll appreciate just a slightly better track. I know it won on a heavy surface at Te Rapa, but maybe a slightly better track might be more to his liking.
Yeah, and I think they'll look to take a sit. They led on that occasion at Whanganui, and he took a sit at Ruakaka and also at Te Rapa when he won. So I think they'll just make a few horses go forward and make him take a sit on this occasion.
Sorry, Steve. Yes, Paul, to you, mate. This feels like one of Pops's perfect first 4, box first 4 sort of races. Give us your numbers here in the Hawke's Bay Guineas, please.
Yep, I've got El Vencedor on top with Kufu and Wakari in behind and Mananui not too far away either. So El Vencedor to upset the apple cart.
Yeah, okay. $12 El Vencedor, not too bad at all. But yeah, look, the boys have both got Waikari and Kufu in their numbers, and it's probably the common denominator there, and you need to take a couple or a bit of a spread perhaps around those two favourites in this year's Hawke's Bay Guineas. We've got a couple more races we want to check out quickly here at Hawke's Bay, and we'll go to race number 3, Steve. It's the open 1,300 metres, and yeah, some nice horses resuming. A tricky race to frame up, I would have suggested.
Yeah, very tricky, Thaddeus. Again, a bit of discrepancy between the boys here in the office. We went up Mai Tai Fave at $3.50, and there's enough support to suggest it's forward enough. It's definitely got the class edge over a few rivals, but 3.5 first up for Jamie Richards. In front of the stablemate in Cornflower Blue, 4.8 second elect. Vigor winner, 480 out to $5. Our Alley Cat, 7.5. Then we're talking double figures around Times Ticking. Tabby Court, $12, shares the same price as the local Miss Labasa. Germanicus, $15. Satu Lai at 17, and the best of the rest is the Mitigator. It wouldn't be without the Mitigator in Hawke's Bay Carnival, would it? We just need him here. I think he's been here since 2017 from memory, so good to have him back on board in terms of the Carnival. He's at a $21 price, but look, a slight lead around number 5 in my side, but we'll just see how this market develops in the next 48 hours.
He's only 7 BP, the Mitigator. I went to the book. I thought he was going to be 11. Maybe it's saying more about me than the Mitigator. Look, Jamie Richards holds the key here. I know you're a Mai Tai fan. Cornflower Blue's taking up a fair bit of percentage in this book. How do we attack the third of the day?
It's a minefield. I find this race very awkward. Look, Mai Tai's looked nice through some trials recently, and look, she's a winner of 4 of her last 5. She looked terrific, didn't she, through that back end of her preparation? She was a horse who was good enough to win sort of in the summertime in a 1,500 metre championship final. She was also good enough to win in the autumn period when winning in Anzac Mile. So she's a winner, and she knows how to get it done. And her trials have been nice and quiet, and looking like she's ready to run a race. Cornflower Blue. I mean, what do we do with Cornflower Blue? Like, she's a horse that was disappointing on an off track out of Taupo, and of course we have seen her been able to perform where she likes a fire out of the track. She was very much well beaten on that occasion. Was Cornflower Blue. She's a good filly from last year. She was 3rd in the 1,000 guineas at the Group 1 level. You'd expect the quick bounce back from her, and with that slightly improved track, but with still some nice cushion in the track, that's going to be suitable for her. I'm liking a horse like Times Ticking. I find it that hard. I'm having to go searching for some value in the race. Times Ticking is a runner that ran very well at this carnival last year. Now, I know it was over further, but he did win the middle day and the last day of the carnival, did Times Ticking. If you speak about it's not a carnival without the Mitigator, well, it's certainly not a carnival without Albie McGregor certainly getting amongst the spoils. You almost need Albie McGregor and Neil Connors to be amongst it, and then that's pretty much the carnival sorted, because they always turn up with something over the carnival. Neil Connors, of course, Samurai, always used to be able to get them from booming home in those middle day on those undercard races. So I sort of think Times Ticking might be a horse who's trialled up nicely, and got call sign Mav form around this horse from last preparation. Ran well in an anniversary. Look, he's not the worst at a price.
Okay, I can see a bit of speed here, Steve. How's this map look? Tabby's Court, our Alley Cat, even the old Mitigator might make his presence felt up there. What are you seeing in the map?
Yeah, look, I haven't really dived into the map greatly when it comes to this race, Thaddeus. With a lot of horses first up, it's a little bit of unknown. You've got to take on the trust of what they've done in previous campaigns to how forward they are here and where they place themselves. The Mitigator, Tabby Court, our Alley Cat, they're all go-forward horses. I'm not sure how strong they'll go early doors, but it's quite important come to Fave, because Mai Tai, she's going to be back in the last third from barrier 11. She'll need it to be run a nice true tempo and the track playing fair, which I've got no doubt it will be Hastings Day 2. But look, the money's suggesting that she's not too far away to Mai Tai. And just going on Jamie Richards' stable, there just seemed to be one run behind the 8 ball, and that might have been purely on track conditions. I know a lot of turf trials have been cancelled through the lockdowns. I know there's been trials been happening on the synthetic, but has that been right for a lot of horses first up on testing track conditions, what has been presented in the last 2 to 3 weeks? So Maybe they've just been one run behind when it comes to that stable. So look at them to explode in the next 1 or 2 weeks out of that stable. But yeah, there's enough money to suggest Mai Tai's not too far away on the back of 3 trials leading in here.
What Pops asked the question about Cornflower Blue. Before I come to Paul, what are you thinking, Steve? Do we pot her now, starting to pot her, or are we going to give her a benefit of the doubt, as you say, around that run behind? What do we do with Cornflower Blue? Because it could be an opportunity for customers if she's a drifter, that something is going to shorten up here.
Yeah, she was quite soft at Taupo. I think she went out 1 or 2 points late in trading. She was around about that $3 mark from memory, and she got out to around about $4.50, $5. I don't think that's exact, but somewhere around those lines in terms of the trading late in the piece around Cornflower Blue. So money was suggesting that she probably needed the run, even though she had a class advantage over a lot of her rivals at Taupo first up. I think you've got to give it one more chance. As I mentioned, I think the stable probably have been one race behind the 8 ball in terms of their rivals. I think you've got to take a little bit of trust around her. I'm not sure what the marketplace is going to do. Is it going to be parallel to what we saw first up and see her price ease a touch or two? Look, they're not going to drift markedly with that overall profile with Jamie Richards, etc. But overall, just answering your question, I think you've got to keep the trust if you're a Cornflower Blue fan.
No, absolutely. We know how good she is. Last preparation, hopefully she will see the best of her. Paul, what are your plans here in the Alloy Redshaw 1300 meters? Tell us, please.
I think the top of the market is where I'm probably going to look. I think Mai Tai, if she is ready to go, she probably wins this with a leg in the air. So I'm very happy there. And Cornflower Blue, look, she had a couple of nice thirds and behind, need I say more, as a 3-year-old. And if she gets back to her best, and she'll be right in the finish as well. But I thought I'd look a wee bit outside the square. And as you say, Hawke's Bay without the Ranfurly Shield, day 2 of the Carnival without the mitigator, it just doesn't seem right, does it? And I think he ran on this day he ran in the Windsor Park last year. It just went like a bat out of the hell. I think if he's rated just a wee bit better this time round, he could get away with a couple of cheap sectionals mid-race, and coming round the turn, he could just leave them in his wake. So I'm certainly found a spot for the mitigator in my multiples, and I hope BP has as well, because
you old sentimentalist, Paul. I love that. We'll get to BP's numbers. Let's get yours first. If you've got a top 4 for us in the third, you may as well lay it on the line here now.
Mai Tai on top, Cornflower Blue, the mitigator in for third, and Vigor Winner in there as well.
Vigor Winner, yeah, $5 Vigor Winner. Been going well at the trials. Pops, have you got him in? Have you got him in your numbers somewhere? Snuck him in for 4th?
Look, I haven't. I haven't, no. But seems Paul mentioned the Ranfurly Shield and all those other reasons. Maybe I should. He's got to lug a bit of weight, but he's a Group 1 performer, though, isn't he? And that's the thing you have to keep coming back to as well. He has won a Group 1. I'm going to go with Time Sticking. I just feel as though he's a horse who might be able to show something first up. He was nice at the trials, and he's been able to perform here at this venue at the price. Mai Tai, Vigor Winner are the other couple that I like, and also Cornflower Blue. I'll give Cornflower Blue another chance. I think you have to.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. It's actually one of these races, Steve, that I know you want to be watching the market carefully in all races if you can, but this will be one you think there'll be a little bit of movement, and there could be some good leads in that marketplace in a race like this.
Absolutely, Thaddeus, and it starts at the top of the market, doesn't it? Because you've got stablemates 1 and 2 in betting around Cornflower Blue and Mai Tai. Like I mentioned earlier, if there's a slight lead around those 2 favourites and stablemates, it is around Mai Tai. But the next 24, 36 hours, we'll just keep punters updated through trackside, etc., and see where the money's landing. But early leaders around Mai Tai.
Yep, absolutely spot on. Keep your eyes peeled there, customers and viewers. And let's move to race number 5, guys. The last race we'll preview this evening. And at the Fast Track Insurance 2,000 metres, the Open 2,000. Stephen, we've actually had a little bit of a move here, had we not, in race number 5?
Yeah, bang on. And again, it's the favourite, Thaddeus, around number 1, Big Mike, one of the The boys' fave horses, I think they've both landed this horse as their best bet throughout the last 6 months on the podcast. Well, Big Mike, $4.50. Again, when betting commenced yesterday, it's been traded into $3.30. A lot of that action, Thaddeus, has been done in the last 2 to 3 hours, Thursday afternoon around Big Mike. He holds 3 times more money than Daytona Red and Swords Drawn, $4.50 each of 2. Robusto, $4.80 in that fourth line. Sir Nate, $9. Double figures around Pep Talk at 10. Prince Leo, intriguing runner there. It's gone in a couple of clips here, Prince Leo. 21 to 17. Dalcetto's gone the other way, 21 out to 31. She has the same price as the local in Suleiman, and also Kahu Rock. And the Ranky is Hunter Pence, 31 out to 41. So yeah, a couple of talking points, one of them being with the fave and Big Mike, $4.50 into $3.30. And also number 12 and Prince Leo, 21 into 17.
Out of Hurang, Prince Leo, I see. Did it win a Wellington Cup or a
New Zealand Cup, I think.
New Zealand
Cup.
New Zealand. Yeah.
New Zealand Cup, quite right. Prince Leo, you're spot on there. Pops, your old mate heads this market. Big Mike, he only faded late after he went out to a big lead over a mile. He steps to 2,000, looks right in play. Swords Drawn, though, almost surprised them first up over 1,400. It's a nice race. Which way are we thinking?
He'll roll to the front and he'll be very hard to beat, you'd imagine, Big Mike. Look, he's got 58.5 kilos. That's what he had when he won the Hawke's Bay Cup. Aaron Leighton is, of course, taking the ride on the weekend with Alan Nicholas out injured at the moment. But he's a horse that I'm sure Aaron will look over his tapes and how to look at how he's won those races around Hawke's Bay. And if he can increase the tempo at around about the 800-metre mark, make it very hard for his rivals to catch him. They may not get him, and hence why he has moved in this market. What I would add to that is that if he does win this race very impressively, he's a chance of running in the Livermore, and he is $31 in the Livermore. Now, as I said, the race, we still don't know sure of who's sort of heading in that direction. We're waiting for Savion Blanc to race on Friday, and those sort of horses, and Cheval Promoteur and other runners. He wouldn't be the worst horse to have something small on at the each way in a Livermore Classic, because he is your speed and weight for age races in New Zealand. So often we see very slowly run races that can be sit and sprint races. We don't have a genuine pacemaker. He will be a genuine pacemaker in a race like the Livermore Classic. He's run in the race before. He ran 6 behind Savvy Cope. So if he runs well in this race, well, I've already backed him in the Livermore anyway, but maybe you could have something on him at a big price in the Livermore.
That's the sort of information we want. That's the sort of information we want. $31. He won't be 31 if he comes out and gives him a spanking on Saturday. Steve, did he just get did he go a little bit too hard too early, perhaps, Big Mike, last start over the mile? He sort of cleared out and got a few lengths in front of them and then sort of knocked up late.
Well, that's what the figures are saying, Thaddeus. The race shape, the tempo of the race early doors was totally against Big Mike. He came out of the machine, and Alan Nicholas on that occasion just couldn't hold the horse. He wanted to go. Just looking at his figures, breaking it down, the first 400 was 24.68, which was the fastest 400 or first 400 of the meeting. And that included 4 times 1,200-metre races and also the Tarzino ridden over 1,400 metres. So the first 400, they went very hard over 16 in the open class race, which was set up, Communique finishing over the top of them. When they got out to the 1,000-metre mark, in terms of lengths, it was 4.8 lengths above par. But he still had the audacity to be there at the 150 mark. He hit in a hole. He went in a hole in the last 150, but not surprising of what he had to do in the first 4, 6, 8, and 1,000 metres in that race. So, look, they'll try and rate him better for that first 1,000 metres. But from the 1,000 onwards, the last 1,000 over the mile and a quarter, I think they'll look to push the acid on. We know how he's ridden at his best, and that's when he's slowly revving up the gears from the 1,000 onwards to make it a nice staying event. But it's all about that first 1,000 metres. Can the jockey and Aaron Leighton, can she be able to just rein him in a touch from what we saw on the first day, because he went far too hard.
Yeah, okay. If BP is the president of the Big Mike fan club, for Big Mike fan club, I'll get it out. I'd put you in around secretary, Paul, maybe in that sort of a level.
Yeah, I'll take that. Look, we've got the early money on Big Mike. BP's just announced He's at a stab at the Livermore Futures at $31. That's enough for me. I'm on Big Mike. Aaron Leighton gets 3 kilos off, brings him down to 58.5.
Featherweight for him, isn't it? Featherweight.
It is. He's won cups on both sides of the Tasman. I was trying to make a case for others around the top of the market there, like Robusto, Daytona Red, but after the money that we've seen, the action we've seen on Big Mike today, and the fact that BP's had a little go in the Livermore Futures, that's it. That's it for me. Mike on top, and then I'm playing a whole lot just underneath him.
Yeah, okay. What else underneath him then? What do you have in there? What were you tossing up with?
Robusto,
Yep.
Daytona Red, or just the top of the market, really. Swords Drawn.
Yep. Swords Drawn was good. Resuming pops, wasn't he? He got home really strongly.
It was quite an eye catcher, wasn't it? Over a distance well short of his best. It was that classic stayers run fresh up over a sprinting distance, wasn't it? Over the 1400 meters. We know that he can be quite a hard horse to catch. There's been a number of times where he has been a favourite and he hasn't got it done, but I'd be watching him. I think he's a horse to watch out for over this, sort of next 6 to 8 weeks anyway. So off the back of that run, I've got him as my second pick in the race. I'd be watching maybe a horse like Pep Talk as a little bit of a value chance if we're trying to find some value in amongst the market. And my other one would be Robusto, another classic stayer who's run well first up over 1,600 metres. But with what Stephen pointed out about Big Mike, I think it was purely just down to him being really fresh. He was a horse that was just hadn't had a race since July, and he was just really keen to get on with his work. So if they've put the right groundwork into him and he's not as fresh and rearing to go as he was here a couple of weeks ago, and as I said, Aaron Leighton takes a sit on him for the very first time and gets bowling in front, he might be hard to catch around Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, okay. Just on that Pep Talk, he strung a couple together last prep, didn't he, for Kirsty Lawrence? Or he had a few wins, didn't he? Won at Trentham one day. He comes to hand pretty quick. He wouldn't be out of calculation, Pep Talk, BP.
No. I think he's a horse that he'll come on quickly after that first up run. So, that's what I'm keen to have in there. What's he, around that $9 or $10 mark?
Yeah, absolutely, $10. Poor Pep Talk with the boys. And the good thing about Paul Mawadi, this is good. I mean, he just happily admit he's jumped camp, and that doesn't worry him. He just wants to be on a winner. There's nothing wrong with that, Paul, is there?
Hey, if you're not on a winner, you're on a loser.
Profound stuff from the great man. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, it's a fantastic card at Hastings. There's no doubt about that. And we've covered off 4 very good races. That's pretty much all we do have time for. But I mean, we've got a good meeting at Riccarton, Paul, as well, haven't we? I mean, there's a Copeland's Mile trial that'll shake a few things out. Tony Pike's plays a huge hand. Tiakau's in it up to their armpits. So plenty happening at Riccarton as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. We've got a Guinness Trial with the Tony Pike trained Field of Gold at the top of the market in that trial. Currently $16 in the 2000 Guineas futures. And as you say, the Copeland Bakeries Mile Prelude. If you fancy anyone in the futures market for the Copeland, Marcus Aurelius is at $10 at the moment. Hasbro at 12. Miss Tycoon Rose at 12. Whale Song at 26, Milford Sound at 21. They're all going round in that prelude on Saturday. So if you do fancy one of those and you think they might put on a performance this Saturday, you might want to get on that futures market before the price moves.
Yeah, 100%. How's that Copeland's Mile futures market, Stephen? How's that progressing? Just off the top of your head, putting you cleanly on the spot.
Well, early doors it was around about Marcus Aurelius and Hasbro. As soon as we opened the market, what was it, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Thaddeus, from memory, they were the 2 horses that stood out. I think both around about $18.26 from memory. They've been backed into around about $10 flat now, those 2 runners. So with that natural lay price being fairly high, they are our biggest liabilities. Look, Gold Watch is still down to go down to Christchurch. I don't know what the latest around that individual, but obviously he was scratched in the morning of the meeting last Saturday at Matamata being too heavy. So just not sure how that interferes with his program going down to Riccarton. But look, Brando, he's ran about a $6-7 chance from memory in the Copeland's Mile. That seems to be a nice shape or a profile of a race for him. He'll be down in the weights. He's definitely Group 1 class in terms of a 3-year-old level. What he can do as a 4 is yet to be seen, but we don't have to wait too long because he's favourite for one of the open sprints tomorrow at Te Rapa. So, and the other talking point is Dragon Leap, who was late nommed for the Couplan's Mile this time last week, and he's ran about a $4.50 fave.
Yeah, okay, deservedly so off that first up run. Paul, promotions. We've got any promotions on Saturday? The boys have been going berserk with these promotions, particularly on a Saturday. Surely they're winding down.
Yeah, I wish they were. No, they're winding up. So we've got a bonus back blitz on this Saturday, which means we've got a bonus back promotion on races 1, 2, 3, and 4 from Riccarton, Hastings, Randwick, and Flemington. So 16 races on Saturday. We'll have a bonus back promotion on. And it's the race 1, 2, 3, and 4 from Riccarton, Hastings, Randwick, and Flemington. Just absolutely ridiculous. You're kidding me.
I've been having it out with these marketing people, but they pay no attention, so no surprise. Can't blame them. Speaking of Randwick and Flemington, BP, we've got a bumper day in Australia, haven't we? Epsom Day, Metropolitan Day, Turnbull Day. The list goes on. Any highlights? Anything stand out for you? There's plenty there, but anything that you're really looking forward to seeing?
Oh yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm just looking at my race book to see if I can find any 3 or 4 horse races for those bonus blitz races. Doesn't actually look like there is.
There were 1 or 2 last weekend.
He's well aware of that. He's well aware of it. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, nothing like a free hit. The Australian racing is exceptional, isn't it? Turnbull Stakes, incentivised and very elegant. I mean, that's a clash that we're looking forward to out of Melbourne. Of course, we do have the Bart Cummings too, which is an important race because it's a golden ticket towards the Melbourne Cup also. So that's out of Melbourne. The Epsom Handicap, I mean, a field full of depth. Mwanga at the top of the book. You've also got a Tissue in the race who's on the lightweight and is hovering around that sort of $11, $13 quote. You've got Riadini, who's in the market, who's run 2 terrific races recently. Riadini, the former Nigel Tiley trained runner. The Metropolitan, we had Quick Thinker, of course, hoping for a little bit of rain. There's some rain in the forecast over the next few days. If that was to fall, that would certainly bring Quick Thinker into the mix. So, yeah, so much to look forward to on what is a huge day on both sides of the Tasman. And then Sunday is Great Northern Day.
Yeah, those markets open too. The feature races, the 2 feature jumps at Te Araha. So yeah, no, absolutely. That isn't that almost completely slipped under my guard that we've got Great Northern Day on Sunday. Okay, guys.
Dad,
Go, Paul.
I should also mention on Saturday that we've got a $30,000 guaranteed first 4 on every race at Hastings. Got a $30,000 guaranteed late quaddie at Riccarton and a $50,000 guaranteed late quaddie at Hastings.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm sure BP will be taking part.
I can see Pop's licking his lips.
He's just
flip
the page over.
Just checking Courtside Mav is a leg of the quaddie, is it? Yes, it is. Yeah. That's good. Okay.
Very good. Well, stay with you, Paul. We better start winding things up. People are getting bored of us shortly.
Talk about speed maps. Speed it up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the nodding off of the speed maps, haven't they? Look, I want a best bet for Saturday, but I also want a horse to follow for the spring as well. So if you can give us 2 horses, I'd be much appreciated. Any order you like, a horse to follow and a best bet for the weekend. Start with you, Paul.
Yeah, best bet. I'm heading to the Hawke's Bay Guineas and Al Vencedor at around the $11 or $12 mark at the moment. I think Danielle will have him up front somewhere. And it'll be a big chance as we head into the straight at Hawke's Bay. A horse to follow. I'm going to head across the ditch. The Aladdin, another son of Tavistock, who won with a leg in the air at Benalla last Sunday and is in the futures market for the Victorian Derby. Was around the $100 mark before that victory on Sunday, now into around the 15 or so mark, but still worth a go. And I think one to follow, the Aladdin, in the Chris Waller stable.
Okay, the Aladdin. Okay, I like it. I think I saw that race on Sunday. Yeah, it bolted in, didn't it? Stephen, horse to follow and a best bet from you, please.
Firstly, the best bet, Thaddeus, I'll just stick to the Premier Day at Hastings, race 5, the Open 2000, Big Mike, all what we've spoken about prior. around the sectional, and just the race shape just wasn't to suit first up at Hastings. And I think with the benefit of that run and rated perfectly, he just about goes in as not a good thing, but one of the better bets on the card at Hastings. Big Mike, who's ran about 3:30, and a nice strong money lead as well around him from the opening quote of $4.50. So Big Mike is the best bet at Hastings. When it comes to a horse to follow, I'm going to go back to day one at Hastings. The horse called Nod of the Head out of the Lisa Ladder stable was very impressive, winning the rating 65.13, just rated through the roof. I think it was around about 6 lengths above par for a maiden class, or sorry, for a 65 class race. And just not sure its immediate goal, but if the gelding can reach a low rating of 80 come November, I think he's a big Coupland's Mile chance. Nod of the Head, who I think from memory is around about a $18 price for the Coupland's Mile and futures betting. He's been well played or well tried in the first 2 to 3 weeks in betting around the Coupland's Mile, but just going back on his performance on day one, he's definitely a horse to follow and definitely going through the grades. Nod of the Head.
Okay.
Oh, we've got another member, BP, for the Big Mike fan club.
Yeah, welcome aboard, Stephen.
Yep.
Well, where's he slot in? He can't be above secretary, but just member at this stage. So
indeed.
we'll review that in time. BP, come to you last, mate. We leave the best to last. Best bet and a horse to follow, please.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to the very first race on Saturday to kick off your Saturday of racing. And no, I'm not having a bet at the Richmond Straight Greyhounds. I'm going to that will be one of the first races to go on Saturday, but I'm not going there. I'm going to race 1 at Riccarton. I really like this horse by the name of There You Go. This is a 3-year-old filly by Niagara that's had 2 race day starts, both of them in stakes races. Ran third in the first of them and behind Atala Bagil as a late 2-year-old, and then ran a very good fourth in behind Belaconte in the O'Leary Stakes. And as we've seen with that form, it has stood up with the first and the very unlucky third in I'm a Rockaby, running very well in the Gold Trail Stakes. This horse is awkwardly drawn. It's in a flat-out maiden. It's around $2.50. Tony Pike has 28 runners running over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Surely there's a winner or two in the barn, and I believe maybe this one can be it. And it's $31 in the 1,000 guineas. There You Go is my best bet. Horse to follow over the spring. I'm going to go for a horse that's running at Te Rapa on Friday. We'll be running in race number 2 at that venue by the name of Glory Bound. Really like this 3-year-old filly by Tavistock. She's a horse that's a chance of getting to a race like the 1,000 guineas. At present, as we talk on this podcast, she is 51s and 15s in the 1,000 guineas. If you're keen to have something on the futures, she's a horse that ran a very good second behind Mananui, first time of asking. I like the way that she was able to be slow away, but she was still taking ground off Mananui, who runs in the Hawke's Bay Guineas. A horse that eventually will get down to Christchurch, you'd imagine, if she runs well on Friday. And even a horse going further into the preparation can get to a race like the Oaks, you'd imagine. So keep a very close eye on the Valachi Downs filly in Glory Bound.
That's a great thing, Pops. You could have a little bit of 31s and a little bit of 51s prior to them going around, and you'd be well on side with yourself, you'd suggest.
Oh, well, yeah, that's right. That I think I'll do that.
I've twisted your arm. Yeah, very good. Very good. Hey, thank you, BP. Thanks for joining us, mate. You'll be looking forward to your Saturday of racing. Grand Saturday that it is.
Oh, yeah. It's Super Day, isn't it? So, yeah, bring it on. And I think the one thing we're looking forward to is it's going to be a likelihood on a better surface too. I know it was on a slow weight track and they didn't get as much rain on the first day, but we want to see these horses running on the better surface. So let's hope it's a good deck out of the bay.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments, and it looks like it will be. So that will be fantastic. Paul Mawadi, Mr. Tiabi podcast. We appreciate your time. I know an hour out of your day. It's quite a lengthy thing. Thanks for joining us.
Unbelievable. As BP's Jersey would suggest, it's also grand final day this weekend. Hopefully they got a good track up in Brisbane. The Bears won't be taking part, but Benji Marshall will be. Yeah. And what could be his final game of rugby league. What a fairy tale it would be if he could walk out grand final winner on his final game.
100%. South or Penrith, Pops?
Penrith with a Cleary drop goal to define the two sides. There's nothing much between them.
Or get on one of those power plays, BP.
Yeah, drop goal on the match. I think it's around $4 or $5.
He's a step ahead of you again, Paul. You know that. Thank you, Stephen Hunt, for your insights as always. You'll be looking forward to Saturday. Where are you going to be? You're going to be on the TV for us?
Yeah, I'll be trying to point punters into the market movers and the best leads coming up to each and every race. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 72 hours. I've already touched on Sunday at Te Ata. We've got Great Northern Day. Obviously, Group 1 Day on Saturday and Te Rapa, where I've got a little bit of a share and a horse going around the early part of the day in Horston. I think it's a bit of an improver 1400 and ready to go through the grades.
Oh, very good. Yes, we'll be keeping an eye on Holston tomorrow afternoon. We're back. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, as I said, and thank you to you for sticking with us on the leg up. We're back, whether you like it or not, and we'll see you in 7 days' time on the leg up.